Charlotte and Mecklenburg County are in a state of emergency as officials prepare for the possibility of more protests tonight. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Phil Orban.
And I'm Genevieve Curtis. That announcement came this afternoon as hundreds gathered peacefully in Uptown. We want to show you the scene right now happening in Uptown from Chopper 9 Sky Zoom. You can see hundreds are in the park right now demonstrating. We have heard chants since about noon today. Signs have been held. People have been demonstrating, walking through the streets of Uptown, protesting the death of George Floyd. And we're going to start with our team coverage with our reporter, Aaron Edwards, who is there live right now. Aaron, Charlotte's mayor just made an emotional plea to the public and also explained what this state of emergency will mean.
Genevieve, we were actually sitting outside of the government center waiting for them to hold a virtual press conference. That's when city leaders came outside. Mayor Vi Lyles addressed demonstrators here. We also spoke with Braxton Winston, who was arrested last night. Now, today, Mayor Lyles said she had no idea that any of this would happen. She says no one can predict what will happen tonight, but she's praying and hoping peaceful voices will be heard and not drowned out by violent actions. CMPD says 3 of their officers were injured in the protest last night. Their Metro Division station was also damaged. A few windows were broken there, and police cars were also damaged during the protest. 15 people were arrested at the scene last night, including City Councilman Braxton Winston. He's facing charges of failing to disperse. He was released this morning and took time to talk to us before today's press conference. He said he was originally at the demonstration with his kids, and when he saw the news that crowds were intensifying, he went back outside.
I saw everything that was going on, and my son saw it, and he said, "Daddy, you got to go out there."
Braxton also said he did address himself to CMPD and say who he was. He also said he's in a legal process right now, but wouldn't say anything else about the case. Genevieve?
All right, our Aaron Edwards reporting live for us tonight. Aaron, thank you. If you were watching our breaking news coverage of the protest last night, you might have seen Winston's arrest live on our air. This was the view from our Chopper 9 Sky Zoom as police surrounded Winston. He was charged with failure to disperse.
We want to turn now to Channel 9's Deshaun Brown, who has been with peaceful protesters for hours now. Deshaun, what has their message been?
Well, Phil, there have been several different demonstrations today. The one behind me is actually one going on right now, but there was also a gathering earlier this morning around noon, actually, at Marshall Park. And what was unique about that is it was organized by white women, specifically for white women. One of them actually told me that she felt it was so important for white people specifically to be seen speaking out against racism and violence. A lot of people who attended brought signs expressing that message, like Black Lives Matter or white silence equals violence. There were also people of color who showed up there to either observe or to show support for them. One man told me he was just so struck by what he saw on TV that moved him to come out there as well.
I just wanted to go down and feel encouraged that there are others who really do care, but not only care, but are willing to show that they care, if nothing else, by their presence.
It breaks my heart to know there are people in my life, people in my neighborhood, people in my community, people I work with who fear for their lives, their children's lives. They can't go to work, they can't go to Walmart, they can't go to Target. It's disgusting.
And that woman told me a big part of the process was making sure that she was also listening as well as being an active part of getting solutions. Again, we're following the demonstrations now, which continue to take different forms, but we'll keep you posted on how this develops throughout the night.
Deshaun reporting under difficult circumstances. Thank you so much. About an hour ago, hundreds of people rallied in downtown Salisbury. Many of them stayed in their cars and drove around the courthouse and jail. The line stretched several blocks. Other protesters gathered on the street corners. Meanwhile, in Rock Hill today, this is video from a demonstration that started at about 11 a.m. They marched from the Fountain Park to the Rock Hill Police Department. The message was one of unity.
If we're going to be known for something, let us be known for taking a stand. We ain't come out here today to tear up our city because we love our city. We didn't come out here to fight because we love each other.
And in Columbia, South Carolina, hundreds marched through downtown. They chanted and held signs as they made their way to the State House, where they had a formal protest. Now that video is from when the protests remained peaceful. We're seeing reports out of the area now that people have started throwing rocks and setting police cars on fire. We will continue to monitor the situation there.
And tonight we've learned more about the scale of last night's violent protests in Charlotte. CMPD told us they arrested 15 people, most of them for failing to disperse. 3 officers were also hurt but have since been released from the hospital. CMPD telling us those were rocks to the hand injuries and 1 to the head. Several police vehicles were also damaged as well. Now the night had started with very peaceful protests, but that got out of control. Anchor Blaine Tollison shows us how it escalated, the damage left behind, and how our community can move forward.
Last night's protests started peacefully with groups gathering outside of CMPD's Metro Division in West Charlotte off Beatties Ford Road. And CMPD even sent out a special unit to speak to some of those demonstrators, trying to find out what they wanted exactly, but they wanted nothing to do with police. And then things started to escalate later into the evening. Chief Kropotny told us that the real problems began around 7:30, 8 o'clock with bottles and rocks being thrown at officers. Chopper 9 flew over Beatties Ford Road last night, capturing this video of officers in protective gear in a line. At times, they would grab people, pull them behind their line and make an arrest. And it looked much worse from the ground where our crews were. We saw pepper spray shot into crowds of protesters. And those were also people just standing around watching. And you could tell they would run away, but the protesters would stand their ground there even while being inundated by police and what they were shooting into that crowd. And then a crowd of people made their way to the nearby Food Lion shopping plaza, broke in and looted there. And we went to that Food Lion this morning and we could see the windows of the store shattered. It was a big mess out there, a lot of debris on the ground. The windows of the smaller businesses, a cell phone store and a Chinese restaurant were smashed. The cell phone store had been repaired, but there's still a lot of work to do there. Locals who shop in that area, some of them are a part of an effort to improve the Beatties Ford corridor, are all very upset by this.
It's more about making things better for everyone, improving our life in our neighborhoods.
What we saw in Charlotte last night is what we saw across the country in response to the death of George Floyd. And the other question that leaders have posed to me, the question being also what kind of outside influence is there in Charlotte and who may be behind it? That is another layer of what we've been seeing going on and a question that leaders want to get answered. Back to you.
And city leaders definitely calling for a more peaceful night tonight. Governor Roy Cooper is also asking for calm on our streets. He released this statement today saying, quote, people across the country are rightfully angry, frustrated and sad, and they need space to make their voices heard. These protests should take place without violence and be a real force to move our national conversation towards healing our communities.
All of this happening after the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. An officer, Derek Chauvin, now charged with third-degree murder, is seen on video holding a knee to Floyd's neck for several minutes before Floyd later died. Now in Minneapolis, the center of violent protests, volunteers are cleaning up damage. Buildings are burned down, stores are destroyed. Today, Minnesota's governor requested another 1,000 National Guard troops on top of the 500 already there.